Good evening, Martin County. This is the Martin County. This is the Martin County Business Exchange.
Yes, it is.
McBiz.us show, Wednesday show. We got two guys who can hear and one who's deaf right now, but we'll have them all fixed up. Oh,
Okay.
nice.
How's
nice.
that working?
Is your button pushed in? That sounds like a personal problem. Anyways, this is John Campion, your co-host, along with Big Frank Mezzapel.
How's that?
And we are very lucky to have the King Patriarch of our McBiz group today as our guest. Can't even call him a guest because he's been on here so many times.
He's a regular.
He's
Yeah, regular.
yeah, that's right. He's not irregular. He's regular.
He's our regular.
It's our good friend Pete Navarretta, who's with UBS Financial Services,
Right.
and people who live around town know Pete.
And hands down, Lee Carroll's favorite guest. Now, I know you're not supposed to have favorites, but Lee would always tell me, I love having Pete.
I knew I wasn't doing anything.
And then afterwards, you guys would retire to the local restaurant,
Luna's,
and
bulk
and
up
with the wives.
Did he text you to say he's going to meet you down here tonight? You know, maybe he's crossing the Grand Canyon.
He's
or
been
something.
traveling somewhere. He went overseas for a while and that type of thing. Then he was announcing the baseball games. And,
Right.
we met at Culver's there a couple of weeks ago and kind of caught up a little
Caught
bit.
up
and
good.
then-
That's a good place to do it.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
so
Let's have a reorder on the cheese curds. Right?
yeah, we had those little stickers you get,
Yeah,
that type of
right,
thing.
right.
So it was
Cool.
I'm a good boy.
I know.
Yes.
I know.
Well,
Right.
anyways, welcome, Pete.
Oh,
Always a
great.
pleasure.
Always great to be
You know,
here.
I know why that Lee liked him so much because they're two intellects. You know, he got it around us.
I just nod. You can't see it on radio, but I nod.
That's right. That's
why you
right.
nod. Good
Yeah.
nodding. Right.
Yeah, Lee straightened me out on that like my first time on the radio. He goes, John, nobody can see you doing that. And now we can with the Skycam.
Yes, that's right.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right. No, hey, listen.
But we're all decked out in here
We
for
are.
Memorial Day.
Exactly
and,
right.
Can't believe that's here already.
Coming up.
That's right. I mean, that's Monday.
Monday.
Yes, it is.
Monday. So
And would Todd Harris asked for, normally on holidays, we get the day off at the radio station.
okay.
And the morning crew will be here, but the afternoon crew, that's me, they say, we'll just, we'll do sports or something else. Marlins are playing a game at 1:05. The game should be over well before 5 o'clock. And Todd Harris asked for permission. He wanted to do a Memorial Day show.
Wow.
So I says, okay, saddle up. I'll do it. And
that's
got
pretty
permission
cool.
from the big boss. So
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Todd Harris is from
Crown Car Care.
Crown Car Care.
Mhm.
Right.
He is a new member and he is a doer.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
brilliant man.
Yeah.
But
He knows how to hit the ground running.
he does. And then we just have Pete put him in his place.
Exactly.
Sure.
I'll take care of him.
Okay.
So Pete,
Yes.
I, unfortunately, I feel bad. I missed this morning, which is some of you or many of you may know that our guest usually on Wednesday nights is our speaker in the morning for breakfast. So
Right. Yeah, it was nice. It was a good breakfast this morning. Yeah, I did a little bit of a historical situation that I've been involved in Martin County for the past 47 years or so.
God, I'm glad you stopped at 47. I thought you were going to say like 147.
No,
years.
not 147.
Okay.
No,
But-
all of them in Stewart. It's amazing.
Yeah. And it really is when you think about where you started,
Yeah, right.
and
how it ended
how it
up
all
here.
kind of, and people that you ran into, suggestions that were made, and then connections that you made, and
Mhm.
and what we enjoy in our local Martin County, Jensen Beach area. A lot of what we've ended up with is largely on the back of the work that you've done.
Well, what's funny is that I wasn't even thinking about this, and one of my grandkids, 5 of them, they took a little tour of the Stewart feed thing,
Right.
and in that store is a little thing on FIT.
Okay.
I opened it up, and there was a picture of me, and
Oh, wow.
Did they recognize you?
no,
Yeah.
look at all that hair.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
Who is
So,
that guy?
No,
At least
my
they didn't
old-
say you have COPD.
the name was underneath.
That's cool.
So they what were you doing there? It was a picture with Larry Zonka
Okay. Wow.
and his wife,
Okay.
who one summer had a camp there. And he and his wife came up as a boys and girls camp.
Mhm.
And all different activities were going on, but I got to know him pretty well
Yeah.
because he was there every day.
Mhm.
All right. And he said, I have to have, he was funny. He said, I have to have something to do. He said, I got to get myself in shape, and this type of thing. So we gave him this saw and this type of thing. And he went out in the woods behind the mansion
Right.
and started chopping away. We
Oh.
left him there for about a week.
With a bow saw.
Oh God, it was funny. It was
Wow.
funny.
Now, what year was this? I mean,
19, let's see, 76, 77,
it
78.
doesn't seem that long ago, does it?
No.
It seems real long ago.
Can you, kind of give you can't give the Reader's Digest version on
No.
FIT,
Yeah.
but maybe you can.
Well, what
people here
happened
in
is
Martin
that,
County-
sure. What happened is that actually that started out in Cocoa Beach.
Yeah.
At a place called Hydrospace Technical Institute. I was hired by FIT to begin that little program there at Hydrospace Technical Institute, which consisted of, at that point, a diving technology program, a underwater technology program, a marine technology program. There was 3 of them. So I came down to Cocoa Beach, and we decided that we could really build this up. And within a year or so, we were running out of space. And then I got a call and said, there's a place for sale in Jensen Beach. Now, Jensen Beach, where's Jensen Beach?
Right.
Now,
when you say you came down from New York?
Well, I was in Washington, D.C.
Oh, you were in DC. Okay.
Yeah, I was in D.C. running a program there aboard ships.
Okay. All right. I'm
Okay, for
sorry.
training.
I forgot about that.
Training
Okay.
programs. But it was funny. So I came down to Jensen Beach, and Jensen Beach Boulevard was Commercial Boulevard.
Right.
Wow.
It used to be called a cutoff road.
Yeah.
Weird. So we came into Jensen Beach, and we go down to this Sisters St. Joseph's campus.
Mhm.
Absolutely gorgeous piece of property. I mean, that place it's Indian River State Park now.
Right.
Absolutely gorgeous piece of property. So we decided that we were going to make them an offer, and it wasn't enough. So the heads got together and said, well, maybe we can borrow the money from somebody. Well, enter Ralph Evinrude into the picture.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. And
He
It
just
was-
happened to have some spare cash.
no, he happened to have, but here's what happened.
He happened to have some interest.
He had to have a need for something.
Yes.
So we talked, and he said, well, the college, he says, I don't mind a college being there because the other company that was after that piece of property was IBM.
Ah.
And they wanted to put a executive retreat there. Well, Ralph got a lot to say about this area, I guess, when he was here. But there was that piece of property. The college ran right up against the marina.
Right.
It was right next door. He said, well, I'd like a buffer zone. I remember that Godfather. Yeah, we have buffers. So decided how much space that was going to be.
Right.
And he gave us the money for that space. That's now those nice condominiums that are built there now.
Yep. Gotcha.
Okay. And that's how we kind of got the rest of the dollars for FIT. And
Right.
we built that thing up to, I think there were 12 degree programs by the time
Wow.
it closed. And the reason it closed is that part of, not just me, but one of the jobs I had was to arrange to get as much money as we could, because the programs we were putting in were so expensive, and you really couldn't raise enough in tuition to pay for those programs, because to outfit one diver, for example, was $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 for one. So my job was to go back and forth to Washington, D.C. and try to raise a few bucks here and there and that type of thing. And we managed to keep that for a while. And then it got to the point where it just was impossible.
Wow.
But what was interesting about that? And it's something that I've been talking about now for almost the whole time I've been in Martin County, is that the people that went to that school, 100% employment.
When they got out.
When they got out, 100% employment.
And how many people were attending the FIT?
We got
on
up
the
to
average?
about 650.
Wow.
We had there at one time. There's a couple of people in town that have done well there. Mark Perry,
Okay. Yeah.
Oceanographic.
Right.
Hey, Mark plays. He plays a mean harmonica.
Is that right? Okay.
Also, a great soccer player because I coached the soccer team there at FIT.
Okay.
So that was interesting. He's a cool guy. Morris Crady was another one, and he's still in town here. So a couple of them around. But that school was, I thought, would have been great to have it tied in with the Martin County School District.
Yeah.
And I approached them and didn't get anywhere as far as the funding went. So eventually, I took some of the programs and moved them up to the Melbourne campus.
Mm.
Okay, and then eventually the school closed down and it was sold, and then it became Indian River State Park. But it's interesting, that dock that goes all the way out there.
Right.
Yeah, from right there at the park.
Yeah, the reason why that dock is so long, we had to build a dock because we had these diving vessels. Okay, they were 60 foot. All right, and the law was you could not be as close to the mangroves and the shoreline.
Right.
So you had to go out X amount of feet. And so we went out there, and the guy that was doing from the state that was giving us the okay, I'm standing in the water, and he's going,
More.
keep going,
Back.
keep going, till we finally got out there, and we built that dock, the original dock that was there.
So a diving vessel. What would
Here's what happened with the diving program, which was, there's only two in the United States. The one at Jensen Beach and another one in the state of California, beside the diving school in Navy diving school up in Washington Navy Yard. And what we'd do would be to train these divers to go down and inspect pipes and so on and so forth. That's where the underwater photography came in. So we were putting out a product. Not only could they dive, but they could go underwater with cameras, take the pictures, develop the pictures, on their own. So this was a quality dude.
Mm-hmm.
We got all done. And we could only train like 9 or 8 out of 9 at a time. Because what we would have to do is we'd take them out on this vessel, we'd take them up by the power plant, Big Mud Creek, which a lot of people don't realize is about 40 feet deep because they dug it out to fill, and drop them in with all the hard hat stuff on. And those hard hats, you can fill them up with air and pump yourself back up. And
It's like Diver Dan helmets
Yeah,
from the day
exactly.
of watching Diver Dan.
Right.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
wild.
Yeah.
The new ones were actually cool. They look like Buck Rogers stuff, but the old ones were, So we had to do that, and we also took the other. We had 2 vessels. One of them was had a dark room in it for the photography, and we took that one over the Bahamas all the time, and we underwater diving, so you can take pictures. Beautiful stuff. And we trained these people. And the people who took the boat over, they were in a program called Marine Technology. We're out to get their licenses. Okay, this was a 2-year program, so they ran the boats. So we had this thing pretty well coordinated and tried. We had a nursing program there. A lot of people don't realize that. 2-year nursing program was there.
Wow, 2 years must be a very intense program.
Yeah, 4-year oceanographic technology degree. I mean, these guys are doing marvelous work when they got out of there. So it was one of those things that you do that you're really, really proud of when you're doing it and you're done. And I wish in some way it was a little bit before its time.
Yeah, I was going to say, it seems to be like with that time frame. I'm thinking.
Yeah, it was a little bit.
Seems to me like seems like back in the days of Jacques Cousteau.
Well, it's funny.
He was
You talk about Jacques Cousteau. When I was in Washington, D.C., I decided that I wanted to put a school on board a ship. Okay, that was going to use these old ships to make a school to train people in oceanography. And there was a ship down in Norfolk Navy
Norfolk
facility.
Naval Shipyard. Yep.
Yeah, where they store all the old ships.
Okay.
And
Ships have been decommissioned.
Decommissioned.
Mm-hmm.
And one I latched onto was a ship called the SS Explorer. And if you look at the pictures of the SS Explorer, it was one of the first oceanographic vessels during World War I.
Wow.
After was World War I, and what it was doing, it was finding the depths of, when they attacked, they didn't want to run around ground. But after the war, it went around the world as a scientific vessel, and Jacques Cousteau was on it, and some other big scientists.
Mm-hmm.
One of the men that was on that ship was a fellow by the name of Pierre Dalmain, and absolutely brilliant. He ended up working for me in Washington, D.C.
Huh.
And when I came here to open this program, he came with me.
Wow.
And so did a fellow by the name of Fred Permenter, who was a retired Coast Guard person who worked with me in Washington, D.C. He came as well.
Yeah,
So,
who couldn't turn down a trip to Florida, right?
well, and stayed
Right.
and worked at the
Sure.
school and so on and so forth. So, it was a pretty, really interesting time.
Yeah.
And like I was saying this morning, that we also had a hyperbaric chamber there.
Wow. Back. Yeah. Okay.
And Dr. Bright used to come over and treat people in that for diseases that you had to do with no atmosphere or however it was down there.
Right.
You can go, that used to take us down in that.
Was there only one Dr. Bright? Because my folks used to go to a Dr.
I
Bright,
believe so.
and then he retired.
Yes.
Kind of a
yes.
young looking guy.
Yes. Dark haired guy.
yeah.
Yeah. Cool
Okay.
guy.
Yeah, he
Diver.
was. Okay.
Diver. Okay. Because we had to treat, that was one of the only facilities around.
Treating the bends.
Treating the beds. We had helicopters fly them in, and treat them at that facility there.
Wow.
So we got that from the diving school in Washington, D.C. that I knew the guys there because when I was in D.C., my office was in the Washington Navy Yard aboard that ship. Okay, that was my office. And it was right next to the diving school. So I got to know those guys pretty well.
I'm sure.
Okay, so when we were in need of something, they're the first guys I'd contact, and they got us that chamber. We had to have it shipped down. Of course, it's an arm and a leg to get it shipped down here, but we did it. And the fellow who put that program together was a fellow by the name of Jim Woodbury. Jim Woodbury was the head of the diving program he passed away a few years ago. Great guy, diver, just as smart as a whip. Put together all the diving programs. He was my fundraising buddy when we went out to
get the dollars,
Louisiana, and try to coerce some of those big oil companies to give us a few bucks here and there, and managed to do that every once in a while. So that was really interesting. So the whole experience, I think, brought something to Martin County that wasn't here.
Right.
That's unbelievable.
And I wish in some way that it was still here. It would have been a marvelous extension,
right,
to a school district and this type of thing.
Yeah, because it sounds like what Harbor Branch is north. They're near Vero Beach, right?
Yeah,
and
they
do similar work. Right?
We did a lot of work with Harbor Branch. Ed Link was up there, and if you remember, he lost his son in that Bathurst that was down, and so on and so forth. That was tragic. But they were doing some work up there and doing some experimental. We had some of the graduates from our school end up working up there. So it was a really nice,
good relationship, symbiotic.
Yeah. So all of those things, added to the community, and I wish. I'll tell you what, Jensen Beach was a live place when that school was there.
Oh,
wow. I bet. Yeah, right.
650 guys. And you know what the interesting thing is?
What's that?
Is that I would say of the 650,
right,
probably a third were from other countries.
Yeah.
There was a group from Africa. Okay. Which I had, is another story I had over my house for Thanksgiving.
Right.
Okay. When my kids were really young, and they came fully dressed in the African robe.
Nice.
And this type of thing.
Right.
Came fully dressed. They'd never eaten a turkey dinner before.
Wow.
Well, they consumed the whole turkey. I'm talking about every bit of the turkey.
Yeah.
And my son to this day, remembers that.
Save the heart for me, Clark.
But they were a fantastic group of people.
Yeah.
A lot of students from South America, Venezuela, Colombia.
Yeah.
In these particular programs, taking the knowledge back and getting jobs there. I still hear from some of them. Which is pretty cool.
Right. Yeah. Well, about that same time, FIT was in operation. Sailfish Point was coming out of the ground, and the 2001 condos were built, and of course, there's an outdoor pool with that. And I guess the word got around to the FIT students that if you go to the northern or the southern end of Hutchinson Island, there's a development that's just being built. There's a beautiful pool there, and it's available. So the students would go swimming in the pool, And the guards would let them do that because they wouldn't bring their bathing suits with them. So the guards would, wait till they swam a while and say, okay, well, it's time out. And then they would collect them up and say, okay, you got to leave. But they would do that all the time.
Yeah.
What the students didn't know was that they were being monitored from the time they set foot on the
Well, it
property.
was strange. Talk about pools and stuff. When I came down here, and we bought the campus, I had to come down prior to that and go through all the buildings and, those types of things to make sure everything was, put away that the sisters wanted. And because they had put all the statues in various rooms and this type of thing. But I made a mistake that I think I'm probably damned forever.
Oh, no. What did you do?
Wait. I don't know if you've ever seen the chapel at Jensen Beach. It was absolutely gorgeous because it was a chapel in round. And even the stained glass behind the altar was all round. That person built that one and another one over in Naples.
Okay.
The pews were round, all wooden pews, bent. Tremendous organ. When we got there, the altar stone was a giant piece of marble.
Wow.
It must have been maybe 8 to 10 feet long and about 7 or 8 inches thick. Okay. So when I got there, I'm going around, I'm looking at all these things. And I noticed that in this marble, this altar there was a cutout.
Okay.
So of course, I want to know what's in there.
You're curious, yeah.
So I open it up, and there's some ashes, and I said, "Did we put a cigarette out in there?"
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh no!
So I cleaned it out. It was supposedly St. Joe's.
Oh God!
Well, I didn't know what to do. Okay, so I wasn't going to tell anybody.
Quick
about
ran
it.
out.
But what's really
That's
cool about
funny.
that piece of marble? It was set on 2 pieces of sprung steel. Well, when they wanted to have it moved, I believe the sisters eventually took that piece of marble. We had to hire this fellow from I think he's out of Miami somewhere, who was this is funny to say though, he was a marble mover.
Okay.
This company, I move marble. I'm going, move marble.
Now, if you misplace it, then he lost his marbles, right?
That's right. That's
He
right.
had this thing that
Right.
he set down on top of this and slowly went over every inch. And what he was looking for was any particular crack.
Flaw. Yeah.
Because I guess when they lift this thing off that sprung steel,
Snap.
Yeah. Well, marble's soft. So
yeah, I guess, but it was gorgeous. It was, and the back of the chapel was this actual pipe organ, a real pipe organ, and the organ player would sit behind the altar. The rest of the altar was done with all brain coral. It was absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely. I mean, you walked in there and you just went.
So was this on the property there at Indian River State?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at the park there?
Yeah. It's where the Children's Museum is now.
Oh, okay. Wow. You would never know.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
A part of Martin County history that is not known by many people. And we're going to take a short break, Pete.
Okay. Anytime.
This is the Martin County Business Exchange Wednesday night show. John Campion and our other wonderful co-host, Big Frank Mezabel. We'll be right back.
Okay, thanks.
That sprinkler thing.
But the Civil War was near when fight accidentally.
I couldn't help myself.
Hey, what would be cool is to find a Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea.
Right.
That's right.
All right. There we
That
go.
was a good one.
All right.
that was a good
I'll dig
one.
that up.
Yeah, I meant to tell you that at break, but I was
We were busy
mesmerized.
visiting.
We're busy. We're busy talking about good stuff. So we're back. This is the Martin County Business Exchange Wednesday night show. And this is John Campion, your co-host, with Frank Mezzapel and our special guest, Pete Navarrete, who is, hello, Pete.
Hello.
And he's UBS Financial Services, located over on Ocean Boulevard. There you go.
Oh, you even got the sonar ping in there.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was just me.
It could be. It could be. The penguin.
Yeah, right, exactly.
That was a cool looking sub, though.
That
you got to
was.
admit.
That was
like Starship Enterprise.
I was
down
just going to
below.
say that. It was Starship Enterprise, with the water. Yes.
right.
Now, actually, back when you were doing all this stuff in Jensen, that was more like Sea Hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
More like sea hunt.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah. And
Yeah.
and
It was a good time. It was an
Wow.
exciting time. It was great.
very cool. Well,
Yeah.
the fact that you got to experience that, and I got to tell you,
Yeah.
I guarantee you that 90% of the people in Martin County don't even know about that.
Well, it's there when they go visit the mansion now. I went for a tour of the mansion, and my office was on the second floor of that building there, and it brought about a lot of memories
Good.
of that. So
Good.
it was really nice.
And you were in there how many years?
7. I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
plenty. That's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And then I got kidnapped by Bud Jordan to join. No, I went to the high school for when they closed down. I went to the high school and worked on their program for putting together situations where students can get some education that were planning on dropping out or going to be dropped out. And they started a program there with a fellow by the name of Guy Valentine. So I worked with him and also coached the soccer team at the high school. So
Okay. All right.
I did that. And
You're a coach
but
before your time.
yeah, what was really cool is that, and this is a part of Martin County history, is that when I was at the college, I had played athletics, and I was a very athletic person, and soccer when I was a good sport for me. And I started the program at FIT because I had some of these foreign guys that wanted to play, and we ended up in Division II and this type of thing, so on and so forth. And so I was talking to some people in Jensen Beach, namely Vince Bacchino and Frank Waka,
Yeah.
who are the rulers of everything in Jensen
Oh,
Beach
man.
at that time. And they said, "Well, would you be interested in putting a program together in soccer for little kids?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'll do that." And so I started that, and it became the Jensen Beach Soccer Club.
Wow.
And then in 2 years, it became the Stewart Youth Soccer Club. And in 3 years, it had 1,500 players. And myself and Steve Pete and a fellow by the name of Link Walther used to do all.
Oh, I know Link. Well, yeah.
Yeah. We used to do all the clinics for that.
Sure.
And then eventually Port St. Lucie got involved, and Jupiter put their own program in. So that became that was the center of all of those things I saw. And I'm sure that there's people in our business club
Yeah.
whose children or themselves
Right. We're touched by that.
also who played in that Stewart
Right.
Youth Soccer Club,
Right.
Wow.
because it was big, and it was a lot of fun,
Yeah.
so, but it was, the one thing that was interesting is that when I was going to coach the team at Jensen Beach, I said, I got to find a soccer ball.
Ah.
Couldn't find a soccer ball in Stewart. No soccer balls in Stewart. I had to go down to Palm Beach to buy a ball.
It's crazy.
Yeah, but it wasn't anything around. I went to Stimble Sports Shop. I said, I have a soccer ball. We don't have any soccer balls. Okay, but then they started carrying the soccer balls.
Yeah, I don't even think Searstown in Fort Pierce had a sports department.
I don't know. But when the high school started
Yeah.
playing, the interesting thing, when the high school started playing, no one else around here played. No other high school. We
Yeah.
used to have to go down to Miami and Fort Lauderdale to play a schedule.
Really?
None of the Palm Beach schools played. None of nobody.
North, nobody.
Right. So there we are, Cape Coral, Miami, where we're traveling all the time. I think the first year I coached, we
You're
had
like a
like
travel
we
league,
had
yeah.
like 2 home games.
Right.
Because nobody wanted to come up here. And then all of a sudden, Palm Beach, one fell swoop, put it in all the schools. So that was great. And then
Yeah.
that made it a little bit different. But that was a lot of fun seeing lots of kids now that
Yeah.
still, when you're in the same town for as long as I have been,
Yeah.
and you're running into people daily. We can't go anywhere. We're running into somebody. So, hey, hi, coach, or the next thing is out. Yeah, my son played for the Stewart, and when I played for Stewart Youth Soccer and so on and so forth. Other thing that was interesting. My wife of 50 years.
Congratulations.
Okay, yeah.
Way to go, man.
So she was working for Dr. Ettinger in the bone labs. She was running all the bone labs, osteoporosis bone labs, but she was also a member of a small group of ladies called the Lacey League.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was the Mothers of the Milk type thing.
Right.
Who were all nursing mothers.
Right.
Interesting meetings at our house when that happened.
I bet there was.
But that group of ladies
Yeah.
stayed together and eventually opened the Women's Center right on East Ocean Boulevard.
Right.
And many, many, many children in Martin County have come to that Women's Center.
Yeah.
I was saying this morning, like Jeff Bowers, he wasn't there, but all his kids were born there.
Right.
So it's amazing when you go somewhere now, somebody will just walk up to my wife or myself and say, "Oh, hi, I'm so and so.
Wow.
I had my baby at your place."
Right.
Well,
Yeah, I knew Marge over there. I did all their blind work. And stuff.
Yeah, Marge
Yeah.
Jordan.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I knew her real well.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because like you said, you've been in town long enough. Everybody knows somebody that we all know people through each other. And it's really neat to make those connections.
Yeah, one of my
Vince Bokimo, when you mentioned him, Vince would come into my paint store and he would, we'd talk about all the issues that Martin County Parks and Rec had with keeping paint on different structures.
Right.
And he would just sit and visit with me for a
Cool guy.
while.
Nice guy.
Yeah, what a
Well,
great
his
guy.
kids, all his kids are still here.
Yes. Yeah,
I
I know
see
his
him all the
son. I
time.
see his son at church
Yeah.
every Saturday.
And
Yeah.
one of his sons played for me at the high school. But I mean, it's funny that you see all those people there that
Yeah.
just amazing. But the thing is, it's nice, in a small town. But even what I'm doing now,
Right.
okay, and I've been doing this business since 1983.
Yeah.
So
you're not a young upstart.
that's a few years.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
in the same town.
Right.
So
You already have
again,
those connections too.
well, not only that, but I mean, you see what works, and you see, people that you've done some things for that their lives have. You hope that you've improved their lives in some way,
Right.
and that really makes you feel good.
Right.
That really, when you go back and Pat, my wife and I sit around and talk about these things. Say, yeah, do you know so and so? Yeah, I saw him the other day. Boy, he's doing good. Yeah, I remember when he first came into E.F. Hutton. And, E.F. Hutton was the first firm I worked for.
Yeah.
But that was in the old Piggly Wiggly.
Right. And E.F. Hutton talks, everybody listens.
That was the greatest phone call ever to make.
Right.
This Pete and Apparata with E.F. Hutton. We're listening.
We're listening.
All right. Great. Great.
So that's all. That's it. That's how I'm out of gas.
Yeah.
So now,
Well, that's some heavy stuff. I mean, to live in an area like this for basically 50 years. I mean,
yeah.
it's funny because, we traveled up to Nashville this past weekend for a family wedding, and there was people there from all slivers of our lives. And you're trying to remember at one point, my sister goes, God, I forgot, where are we? Because she was running into people from our days in Chicago, our days in Michigan, our days in Tennessee. And it's very different. So,
well, it's interesting that it's funny. My wife and I were talking about this the other day. There comes a point when you've been in a place as long as we have, and when you talk to somebody, now this is home.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Usually it's when we're from New York. That's
right.
home.
Yeah.
That's home.
Right.
But no longer.
That's just where you're from.
Well,
Exactly.
the other thing, because both of my children were born here, right in this county.
Right.
They went to school in this county. All my grandchildren are here. They're in school here. So,
Right.
so this is home.
Exactly.
So that's a neat
Right.
thing to realize after a while, that this is your home.
Absolutely.
And so then you participate as much as you can.
Sure.
I'm
Absolutely.
going to say 36% of the people in Florida were born in Florida.
36, huh?
Flow grown.
Flow grown.
Flow.
Is that what that means?
Yeah,
Yes.
flow grown.
Oh, okay. Hey, sorry, everybody. I just admitted my mass intelligence, and that's
Well,
why
that's
they
like-
let me co-host.
That's like the grits.
Great. Oh,
Yeah, the girls raised in the South.
yeah.
Yeah, the
Okay.
grits. Yeah.
All right. That's great.
Yeah. Anyway,
Well,
just so you know.
My cousin
Okay.
Vinny, they talked all about grits during that movie.
That's right.
Yeah.
Not too keen on the grits.
Yeah, them Ute.
Two youths.
The Utes.
Utes.
Well, we're going to take another quick break. We'll be back with Pete Navarrete from UBS Financial Services. You would never know it. And of course, co-host Frank Mezzapel and myself, John Campion. We'll be right back.
A little Sea Hunt music for you. You ask and I deliver. There it is.
Those look familiar.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it does.
Yeah,
There you go.
Yeah.
That's right. As a modern day.
Yeah.
That was cool. That was cool stuff.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
was.
Yeah.
It was really neat.
Really amazing. TV's come so far, but you still can't beat all that classic stuff.
No, it's fun. It's
And,
fun to,
And half the fun is saying it to the younger people. They go, "What?"
yeah.
Like we've done with many stuff,
Right.
Many stuff, things. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
because I was born in the 50s. Of course, my parents would always talk about their lives during the 40s, during World War II and stuff like that, and the work that they did. But as kids, we'd sit around the kitchen table. We'd say to our folks, because dinner time was also story time, right?
Yes, it was.
And we would always say things like, tell us about the olden days. The olden days was like 10 years prior, but that was all. Right?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So it was too funny.
Speaking of olden days, we were watching a thing last night on PBS, and it was talking about the top most important 10 roads in the United States.
Yeah.
You see this? The first one on there was the Boston Post Road.
No kidding.
Yep. And then the other one they had was Woodward Avenue in Detroit.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah, that was one of the first fully concrete paved things because all those guys driving their cars would get stuck in the mud.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they paved it to be the super highway going each way. And what they didn't count on is that the people drove right the hell out of Detroit out to the suburbs.
Right. Exactly.
And they didn't come back.
Exactly. That
And
happened a lot.
The first limited access highway, I-94,
Right.
connecting Detroit to Chicago. The very first limited access highway, now referred to as our interstate system. That was under, of course, our president Eisenhower at the time. He brought back that idea from Germany. He saw the Autobahns. He goes, "Oh, we need to be doing this."
Need to be doing it now.
Yeah.
That's right.
Still.
That's right.
We need to be fixing it all
You're
now.
saying it's pretty amazing that
we still have the original potholes from 1952.
Yeah.
No, those are up on the New Jersey part on the New Jersey Turnpike, right? That's
Yeah.
what Dee Dee was saying. You're like, boy, the roads sure are nice here in Florida. I go, well, there's no ice or anything,
Exactly.
But
Big difference. Yeah. Never drive up north if you have loose fillings.
yeah, that's right. That's right.
It's well, they'll have to eventually do something 'cause it's just kind of falling apart.
Well,
But that seems to be on somebody's back burner. I don't know where it is, but it's not in the forefront of concern at this point.
Apparently
Although it's
not.
talked about, but it's not there.
so Pete, do you
Yes.
want to talk anything about your financial life right now?
Just real briefly, I'll just mention what what we're thinking now is collectively my group that I have at UBS. I don't work alone. I just want to make sure.
Gotta keep an eye on you.
You gotta keep me down. There's four of us that work together, and we have a financial planning team there that's pretty darn good as far as putting things together for people and families and businesses and so on and so forth. We've been doing it a long time. But right now, what we're looking at is that you got to take, which is hard to do. You got to take the politics a little bit out of the picture now. Because it's right there in front of us, and it's every day, and it's constant, and you kind of lose track of what's really going on from a business standpoint. It's always interesting when you hear all of these programs come on. Excuse me. You very rarely see some of the big businessmen come on, because they have to do their thing regardless of who the president or the vice president or the party or whatever is. But overall, there's two big things that we're looking at. One of the things we need to take into consideration is the tariffs.
Yeah.
Not that they're bad. I mean, is it tariffs are bad? Everybody's yelling about this, that. I don't think a lot of people understand what tariffs are.
They don't.
But in any event, tariffs have been around for a long period of time. And they're necessary to establish trade with other people. It's an agreement to try, with other countries.
Mm-hmm.
The problem they're having now is that some of these businesses are very difficult to pin down as far as what their value is, especially the technology part. And that's a big argument that's going on.
Right.
You can do the soybeans and you can do the tires and you can figure those things out.
Right.
But when it comes to this intellectual property, that's going to be a little bit difficult to solve. But eventually that will all work out. But in the meantime, I think there's going to be probably some businesses that are going to be affected more than others. And I think it's not a good idea to subsidize every single one of those businesses. We've done it with the farmers, we've done it again with the farmers. And pretty soon that's adding to our deficit. That's,
right. Not a good thing.
And it's not being paid for by anybody but us. So, that may put a damper on certain parts of the economy. The other thing you need to look at is that we've been on a run now for 10 years.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, we know it. We're all in the business club and stuff like that. Smiles for 10 years. Okay. Well, I'm not saying that anything bad is going to happen, but as normal things, slow down and so on and so forth. I think the positive part of the whole evaluation is that we haven't seen a lot of inflation, which usually begins to rear its ugly head. And that's the first precursor of, wait, we got to make some moves from the Fed and business slows down. I haven't heard a lot about that.
Right.
Now, will the tariffs have an effect on that? Maybe. But inflation is beginning out there. And if you look at it relative to healthcare and food and travel, those are the things that seem to be going up. Maybe the shirts that you buy at the store aren't going up, but those are. So what we're saying to people is, look, when you structure a portfolio, you just don't throw your money into everything at once. What you want to be able to do is have it structured so that you can move it into the areas that you feel are going to do better going forward. Should you be moving out of, like, for example, the technology area into consumer staples, which are things that people need, all of those different types of things. So we're continually evaluating portfolios to make sure that it's easy to make that change for people, that it's not something that all of a sudden they don't understand that's going to happen. Okay, but it's a natural part of investing. It comes with the territory.
Right.
So, we build that into our plan right from the get-go. And so, not only do changes take place because somebody's life changes, which is another way that things change, but also because of the outside influences that go to change. So, that's something that I think that people ought to make sure that whatever their relationship is with their financial people, that they're discussing those types of things.
Right.
Because you don't want it to be a shock.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't want to be a shock. They pick up this statement, what the hell happened? That's how you don't want that.
Right.
Okay, so we're constantly, reinforcing that whole thing with our clients, and that's why it takes more than one person.
Right.
Okay, so I think we're okay there. I think that I'm always optimistic about our economy and so on and so forth. I think we've got some really smart people in there.
You've got a great attitude on it.
And it's one of those things that, because I look at it this way, as a business person, you guys are business, John, you're a business person. Yeah, you can listen to the rhetoric, you can listen to all the different things, but when you get up in the morning, you're going to not make your decision based on what somebody gave an opinion on the night before.
Right.
You've got some plans to do, not only for now, but for going forward and back and so on and so forth. What I would like to hear, and I'm going to talk to our CEO group about this, what I would like to hear is that now that everybody's happy, how are you going to treat things if things start to slow down? What's in your plan? What are you going to do? What is your first move? What do you have in your mind? Is it people? Is it not? Is it, that'd be a really, really interesting conversation. I hope we get to that.
That is spot on, Pete. I mean,
hope we
really,
get that.
because, like you say, we've been rolling for 10 years.
Been rolling,
and we're all happy.
Yes, we are.
One of the things I learned when I first moved here, I know we just have a couple minutes, Frank, but one of the things I learned here when I first moved here was things seem to be pretty cyclical in Florida, like about every 9 years. I remember my father telling me that. And when 2017 hit, I was like, oh, here it comes. But it didn't.
No, I don't think it's going to. I think it'll be a slower move as far as slowing down, but you still have to take that into consideration. Okay, and I think it's really interesting to watch businesses how they're going to deal with that. So maybe we're going to have that discussion.
That's excellent. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Good.
All
Keep
right.
driving it.
Okay.
Well, Frank,
Let's give that phone number out of UBS.
Oh yeah, anybody that'd like to come by and say hello and let me take a look at whatever you want me to take a look at. And the nicest thing I can do is look at somebody and say across the desk or across the table over a cup of coffee, you're in good shape. Keep doing what you're doing. However you're doing it, just keep doing it. Because you're moving along at a great pace and everything looks fine. but life changes and things change. So
Right.
It's 1-800 Pete Navarrete, isn't
Yeah.
it?
yeah, no, it's 772-223-6639.
And that's UBS Financial
Right.
Services over
Right.
on Ocean, not far, like right across from St. Mary's Church, isn't
Right
it?
next to Park Pharmacy.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, so you can go get your Advil before you go see Pete. But
That's
listen,
right.
we appreciate everybody listening today. Frank, thanks
Yes, thank
for
you. Thank
inviting
you,
us
guys.
into your home. And
That's always
Pete,
good
thanks
to
for
have you
sharing
guys.
Yeah, thank
FIT
you.
and past history. And hey, y'all, we'll see you next week. Okay. Have a great Memorial holiday.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
Remember to
Be safe.
think about how blessed we are. And
Indeed.
boy, are we lucky. Okay.
Yeah.
Y'all
Be
take-
safe, everyone.
Thank you. Take
All
care.